Hi, this is your host, Daniel Gutierrez with Awakening to Abundance. I'd like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Richard Luck. Richard is an author, fully qualified NLP master trainer, hypnotherapist, and creative success coach. In his role as a creative prosperity coach and business coach, Richard has helped more than 4,000 people to overcome their challenges and go on to create tremendous professional and personal breakthroughs they didn't realize were possible for them. Richard also has managed businesses that turn over more than $1 million per day and consulted for some of the largest companies in the southern hemisphere, including Coca-Cola and Nestle. He has helped build unique retail outlets that receive worldwide recognition and manage teams of up to 500 people to achieve a common outcome. Richard's main goal is to empower others to accomplish more personal growth, self-awareness, inner peace, freedom, and happiness. Today you will discover why you have been struggling to attract abundance into your life, a process to identify and correct any internal blocks that are preventing you from attracting abundance, how to begin this process during the call so you will be off to a flying start right away, the census walk to give your mind muscle the daily exercise that it needs to open your connection to the universe and to allow you to manage your self-talk. Over the next 60 minutes, you will also learn a simple process that will allow you to understand why most people struggle to attract abundance into their life, how to pinpoint the exact area that's holding you back, and strategies to help overcome it. And you will also learn about the latest technology for making transformational change, which will help you develop exquisite relationships, abundant health, and financial success. Richard, thank you for joining us, and welcome to the call.
Hey, Daniel. How you doing?
I'm wonderful.
An Australian welcome would be, "G'day, mate. How you going?"
I love that. I love that. G'day, mate.
G'day, mate.
Well, Richard, could you take a few minutes and 2 or 3 minutes and share with us what's been, what you believe have been the major turning points that have, helped you get to your current level of success?
Sure. Look, I think that, like everyone, I've been on a journey all of my life, and to be truthful, I'm still on that journey. I think what's amazing is awakening to the fact that we can either wander the road aimlessly, or we can join with the universe to deliberately create or deliberately discover the path that we were meant to follow. It seems to me that, like, that's the defining moment in most people's lives. It certainly was the defining moment in my life. And I look at my life now and I think that it's almost like it's being divided into two sections: pre-awakening and post-awakening. I think, when I think of it, I think of the Matrix movie where, you take that red pill, or before you take the red pill, you only know that it feels like that there's something missing in your life, or that you were meant to be doing something and you don't know what it is. And for me, the universe was really determined to make sure that I took the red pill. I was literally coasting through my life. I wasn't really living it, and I was caught up in the standard Western kind of lifestyle plan. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but wasn't all that fulfilling for me. It was about creating a career, getting married, having a family, getting a nice house in the burbs, a great car, great holidays every year. But even with all of that, I still felt that there was something missing, and I just couldn't work out what it was. And that's when I had my awakening, or yes, we'll call it my awakening, because I actually lost everything that I owned. My career turned to a mess. I ended up divorced. My mum died of an incredibly debilitating disease within months of getting it. It was just basically everything that I had was gone in a few short months. And the only thing I was left with really was my kids and a couple of close friends. I can tell you, when you go through a change like that, you really begin to understand what's important in life and what's not. I was at the point where I was actually sleeping on a friend's fold-out couch for a long time because I'd been evicted from a cheap apartment. I couldn't even afford a cheap apartment. I had debt collectors chasing me daily, and I had no idea where I was going or how this was happened. I was so lost. And then one day I saw an audio book on the shelf in a health food store, and the title just reached out and grabbed me, and I felt like I had to buy this book. It was like I was being led to it. Anyway, the book was by Wayne Dyer, and it was called The Power of Intention. And I knew that what he spoke about in that was absolutely true. And I began to become consciously aware of my journey and my connection with the universe. Once I did that, it only took a few years to completely rebuild my life. And I got there, and this time I really did it with conscious awareness and conscious knowledge of exactly what I wanted to do and exactly where I was going. In effect, I deliberately created my life. Now, I'm not going to say it was easy, but I was helped. I was helped and guided all the way by the universe. And I think when you understand, like really understand that connection, then it makes it a lot easier. The doors seem to open for you where they weren't before. And I guess I didn't even realize until much later that even before I had that awakening, the universe was there. It was trying to help me. It was trying to guide me, but I just wasn't getting the message. It was only until I'd had this huge awakening that I really understood what was going on. So I guess, what I'd like to say to people is if you've been struggling with money or trying to find financial independence or find that exquisite relationship or have that abundant health or improve your spiritual connection, and you haven't been able to do it or you haven't been able to attract those things into your life, in the next 60 minutes, like you were saying before, Daniel, I want to help people understand how they can really achieve it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's very interesting. What does abundance mean to you, Richard, in your life and business? What does that mean to you, abundance?
Yeah, it's a good question. A lot of people will immediately flick to thinking about, financial things and possessions, but abundance is, I guess abundance, the best way to describe it is joy. It's like whatever it is that gives you that joy and that love and that passion for life. When you have that, you have all of the abundance in any subdivision or any subcategory of life that you want to talk about. Is that sort of the way you think about it?
Oh, you bet. What a great definition, too, joy. When you really have joy, that kind of unbridling bliss in your life, right?
Absolutely. And I think, if we can just know that that's what it is and we just keep working towards it and clearing out everything that gets in our way, then it's a beautiful goal to be aiming for.
Right. And, you just said something that's very interesting. Why do you think that everyone doesn't have abundance in every area of their life? Sometimes they don't have any at all, and sometimes they have some in some, but not everywhere. Yeah,
that's true. They can have it in one area of their life, but not in the others. What I'd like to do is to tell a story that'll explain this. So if the listeners can just listen closely, and I'll use this story to demonstrate why so many people really do struggle to attract abundance into their life. So what I'd like the listeners to do is, just for a moment, imagine that you know somebody who can't drive a car. And because they can't drive a car, they actually have a chauffeur and a limousine. Very nice for them. Any time that person actually wants to go anywhere, they just call the driver, the car with the chauffeur comes along and picks them up and takes them wherever they want to go. So this person has decided that they want to take a couple of weeks off, spend some time lying on the beach and just relaxing. They call up their travel agent. Travel agent books them a 5-star apartment right on one of the most beautiful beaches, we'll say, in Australia. And it just happens that beach is only a few hours drive from where they live. So the driver comes along, picks them up, puts the bags in the boot, and they're on their way to this fabulous holiday. About 30 minutes into the trip, they notice that they're actually driving away from the beach instead of towards it, away from the hotel that's been booked instead of towards it. So the guy who booked the holiday does something rather unusual. What he does is he calls his travel agent and says to the travel agent who booked the holiday, "Can you please confirm the booking for me?" And the travel agent says, "Everything that you ask for has already been taken care of. In fact, it was all done within minutes of you asking. All you have to do is show up to receive it." So he hangs up, feeling good that all is in order. And then another half hour goes by, and he notices that they're still driving in the wrong direction, right? So he calls the travel agent again and says, "Look, I know you're busy, but I don't have what I asked for yet. Is there any chance that you can take care of that for me right now?" And the travel agent says the same thing back to him. He says, "Everything that you've asked for has been taken care of. It was all done within minutes of you asking. All you have to do is show up so that you can receive it." And then the travel agent says, "And you can keep asking me the same question, and it's not going to change anything. I've done my job. The rest is up to you." So this guy hangs up, feeling like all's in order and everything is going to work out. About an hour later, he notices that they're still driving in the wrong direction. So guess what he does? He calls the travel agent again. Now, look, I know that sounds pretty silly, right? Why would you keep ringing the travel agent when the problem is clearly with the driver? But this is what a lot of people do when it comes to deliberately creating their own life. Here's what I mean. They'll ask the universe for what they want. The universe delivers it instantly. But because they're driving in the wrong direction, they can't see what it is that they asked for. So they make this assumption that the universe hasn't delivered it, that the universe mustn't have delivered it. So they go back and they ask for it again, and they'll say, "Look, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Universe, where's my exquisite relationship? Where's my financial independence? Where's my abundant health?" I see this with my clients, and I just wish sometimes they get a message that says, "Look, I've done my bit. You need to ask your driver to turn the car around and start driving towards what I've given you, You see, the driver is our unconscious mind, and the directions that the driver is using is our beliefs and our values. And if there's a few beliefs and values that are not serving us, then we're going to be driving away from the beach instead of towards it. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh, yeah! What a great analogy. I've never heard that before. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, interesting enough, there had to be. I'm going to go back to using the driver's analogy, but how does belief prevent us from attracting abundance in our lives? I mean, he obviously didn't have the belief that he was going in the wrong direction. So how does that play a part?
Look, that's really important. So here's what happens. All right, we have a behavior at an unconscious level which is called self-sabotage, and this is where our unconscious mind makes sure that what our unconscious mind believes to be true actually comes true in our reality. So let me explain that. Our unconscious minds intensely dislike incongruence. So if reality is behaving differently to the way that we unconsciously believe reality should be behaving, then one of two things is going to happen, right? The first thing that could happen is that our beliefs and values could change so they actually match the reality that's happening. For the most part, unless you have the conscious awareness to make that change, that isn't what really happens. It's the second thing that usually happens, which is where our unconscious mind changes our behavior so that what is happening in the outside world actually becomes true. So let me give you a really simple example. Let's say your boss calls you into his or her office and lets you know that you're on the short list for a promotion, but you don't think that you have enough experience to get that promotion. So what's happening in this instance is reality is behaving differently to the way that you believe it should be. You're being offered a promotion when in fact you believe that you shouldn't be offered the promotion because you think you don't have enough experience. And it doesn't really matter that your boss or what your boss believes about you. It's all about what you believe to be true. So to keep things congruent, what will happen unconsciously is that you begin to behave in a way that actually stops you from getting the promotion. And you may even find yourself saying things to yourself like, I can't believe it. I'm just about to get a break, and always something goes wrong and I end up missing out. That's a sure sign that you've got some belief that's causing or it's happening at an unconscious level and is not matching reality, and your unconscious mind is adjusting your behavior so as there is that congruence. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, how do we know if we have some belief that's holding us back?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because getting to that part of it is very important. So I have a simple exercise that I do with all of my private coaching clients that helps me establish what their limiting beliefs are, and then I train them how to do it so they can establish if they have any limiting beliefs, and if they do, are they holding them back? Now, I call it the but and because exercise. So what I'd like you to do, or what I'd like the listeners to do, is just to listen to what they're saying to other people, and especially to themselves. And when they hear themselves say the words either but or because, I'd like them to really think about the words that follow that. So the words but and because are really good indicators that a belief might be about to make an appearance, and potentially a limiting belief might be about to make an appearance. So here's an example, like a real-life example that I have with one of my clients that will help you understand what I'm talking about. So this lady is very passionate about using her tapping skills to help people clear migraines and headaches. And she's been studying tapping for many years and practices with a huge amount of success on her friends and family, right? In fact, during the session, one of the coaching sessions we did, I had a headache and she cleared it up in minutes for me. So she really knew her stuff, right? She wanted to get a business started helping people clear headaches and migraines, and because it was a business, she wanted to make some money from it. What I wanted to understand was why she hadn't already done it, because clearly she had the skills to do this. So I wanted to know what was holding her back, what belief was stopping her from driving towards what the universe had already given her. So I actually asked her why she hadn't put an ad in the local paper and started taking clients. And she said to me, I'm going to do that, but I can't just at the moment because I still have 2 more courses to finish before I'll be good enough to charge for the service. So the words but and because came up. That's like a red flag, and it says, okay, really listen to what's following this, because it's about to reveal something very special. And I guess despite the fact that she'd been helping people successfully for years, what was revealed was she didn't believe that she was good enough to charge for it. She believed that she needed to do more study before she would be good enough. So the truth is that she was in fact good enough, and she could have started charging for it and making money from the business months or even years earlier. It was her belief that stopped her. She believed beyond any doubt that she wasn't good enough to charge. And because she believed it so strongly, she didn't stop to challenge it. She didn't stop to ask the driver, why are we going in the wrong direction? Because if she had done that, if she had done that, she would have started promoting her talents and making it or running a successful business and helping people with a really large problem much sooner. So the words but and because are simply a red flag, really, to highlight that you need to be paying attention to what you're about to say following them, so that you can ferociously investigate, and I mean ferociously investigate, the real truth of what you believe. And just, often just recognizing that you've got a limiting belief can be enough to remove it. So this process works. It's worked with lots of my clients. And when I was working in the corporate world, it worked with some very, very successful people in the corporate world as well. So the skill is being able to identify the beliefs that are not serving you. Then by challenging them, you'll begin the process of actually changing them. So that's a process everyone can start using right now, even. Do you think that might be something of good value?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm thinking about conversations that I have with folks, and button because it's in every conversation, you know. So, so why do we have these beliefs? I mean, Richard, help us with that. Where do they come from? Why are they holding us back? Sure.
Look, Daniel, I'm going to call on Santa Claus to help me explain this story, or explain this, okay? He's a really good example. Look, what happens is when we're a young child, right, or the way a young child begins to believe in Santa Claus is because we as adults convince him or her that it's true. We go to elaborate measures to trick them ultimately into believing that Santa Claus exists. I mean, I know it can be a tradition where parents will leave a full glass of milk and a cookie outside the front door, and then when the kids go to bed, they'll go and have a sip out of the milk and take a bite out of the cookie. So when the kids get up in the morning, they think that Santa Claus stopped by their front door and had a drink of milk and cookie. I should say I hope there's no one on this call that I'm destroying this belief for them. But anyway, so we go to a lot of trouble to convince kids that Santa Claus is true. And, you know, like there's movies about it, there's Santa Clauses in shopping centers, on the TV, the radio, billboards, even some schools are still teaching it, right? So the kids really don't have any chance except to believe that it's true. But the good news for the kids is that at some age, we let them know that we were actually tricking them, that we were tricking them. Then what we do is we teach them to teach it to their kids. So we pass it on, right? But what I want you to do is imagine for a moment, right? Imagine for a moment that if your parents or your caregivers really believed beyond any doubt something that was true that isn't necessarily true, if they just absolutely believed it. So say, for instance, what if your parents really believed that the only way that you could be financially independent was if you had money? In other words, you can't ever be, you need money to make money. You can't be rich without having money in the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. If that's what they believed, then their stories that they would tell you about that would be infinitely more convincing than any of the Santa Claus stories that they ever told you.
Right.
Imagine if you really believed to look good that you had to look like the models in the magazines. Everywhere you turned, you saw photos of slender, thin people. Eventually, you're going to believe that that's the truth, you have to look like them to look good. And this is a huge problem in our society today. What if our schools taught us that the only way you could be financially successful was to go and get a job and work hard all your life? Now, I don't know what they're like in the States, but I know here in Australia, that's what they do. There's almost no entrepreneurial training at school. We'll train you to get a job so you can go out and work for the rest of your life. That's not financial abundance.
Right.
Imagine if your teachers told you, right, because of a lack of skill and training that they have, imagine if your teachers told you that you're a failure because you don't understand fractions or you can't spell properly. When you think about those things now, you can see how really easy it is that you could end up in a car driving away from the beach and not even knowing the truth of what was really going on. Every single day, we're bombarded with other people's beliefs as we grow up and we take them on to be our own. And unfortunately, unlike Santa Claus, no one actually ever stops to tell us that they're not true, or at the very least, we should be challenging them, you know. Now, look, I've got to say here, right, that most of the beliefs that we have serve us well, right? So this is not, I don't want to paint a picture of gloom and doom for everybody, but I do want to say that there are some that are wrong and there are many that are right. For instance, right, as an extreme example, most people, 99.99% of the population, believe that it's not good for your health to jump off a 50-story building or even a 10-story building. But so we all have thousands of beliefs, maybe even hundreds of thousands, and many of them really do serve us quite well. It's just that we'll have a few that we believe about ourselves that will prevent us from having that abundance that we really want. So does that kind of explain how we end up with these things and not even really knowing that we have them?
Yeah, it's interesting, Richard. You brought up the whole you can't spell thing, and I can't tell you how many times my high school teachers told me I just wasn't a good writer, and got to college, so that I believed it. And then by the time I got to college, I had one instructor that said, "You're not good at punctuation, but you're a great writer." And today I'm an author. So those beliefs definitely. You're right. We pick up beliefs that probably in reality aren't our own. We just learned them. Now, can you share a few action steps that we could take to remove some of these limited beliefs that we might have, that we may have picked up along the way? Like I just talked about the whole writing thing. I thought I just wasn't going to be able to articulate well, and that's not the truth.
Yeah. I mean, you were one of the lucky few that had a teacher that could see how important it was that they spoke to you about what was really happening. I mean, there's so many kids out there and so many people out there that don't get that opportunity, But look, so what we're going to do right now is I'm going to teach a couple of techniques that will help people challenge those beliefs. So what I'd like to do is take a few minutes first just to describe about our beliefs, so as we can or put our beliefs in the right perspective in terms of the law of attraction, the universe, and our boundaries and our fears. All right. So really, another way to describe our beliefs is we can think of them as boundaries or our comfort zone. Right. So when we challenge a belief, what we're doing is we're beginning to step outside of our comfort zone. And generally, the emotional response that we get as we get closer to that comfort zone or that boundary, which is our limiting belief, is that we get an emotional reaction called fear. And that can prevent us from challenging our own beliefs. Look, I'm going to share another story with you because I like talking in stories. It seems to help people get understandings better, and this will help explain what I'm talking about a little bit better. And then I'm going to give you a couple of exercises that will allow you to challenge these beliefs. So I'm a passionate snow skier, and today, I've been skiing now for a long time, decades. We'll leave it at that, right? So I've skied all over the world, and I have to say, in terms of inbound runs, there's very few that I can't ski, if any, really. But that wasn't always the case, right? I remember when I first started skiing, I was about 16 years old, so that was about 2 years ago. Not really. I was about 16 years old, and I was on a school trip, right? And we arrived at the snowfields. We hired our gear for the day, and naturally, no one was going to take any lessons. We were determined to do it on our own. Of course, with hindsight now, we would have learnt much faster if we had taken lessons. And there's actually a lesson in that. But anyway, I put on my skis for the first time, and I was absolutely scared out of my wits, right? And the funny part was, I was standing on flat ground. I wasn't going anywhere, and I was still scared. And maybe you or the listeners know what it's like to be that scared when you do something for the first time. All I could do was look at the challenge that was in front of me and wonder how I was ever going to be able to get to the top of that run. And then, how was I going to get down without killing myself? To me, the slope looked like it was almost vertical and 10 miles high, but the reality was it was pretty flat. And I go back to that very same slope where I started from time to time, and I have a bit of a chuckle to myself when I look at it. But the first thing my friends and I decided to do was just to walk a little bit up the slope, then put our skis on, and then attempt to get to the bottom without breaking anything. And that's what we did. And we mustered up all of our courage, and we started hurtling down the slope. And I can tell you, it felt like we were doing about 100 miles an hour, and I think we were probably been doing two. I think someone could have probably walked past us faster than what we were skiing. But we all ended up in a heap at the bottom of the slope, laughing And, you know, we talked about joy right in the beginning. We were experiencing that joy. It was a relief, I think, that we'd actually made it to the bottom without killing ourselves. The fear that we were experiencing, which was somewhat exaggerated because we didn't know what to expect. That was the problem, right? And often fear can be like that. We're moving into unknown territory and we just don't know what to expect. And that can be scary for us. And that's all it is, really. If you knew nothing bad was going to happen and that everything was going to work out okay, then there would be no boundary. You'd just be doing it, right? Anyway, we learned that it might be okay to keep trying. So what we did was we just kept moving up the slope a little bit further, just an extra 10 or 15 feet further up the slope, and just kept pushing ourselves a little bit. Now, once you step outside that boundary and you learn what is on the other side, it's like you can hear yourself saying, why didn't I do that years ago? You know, when you step over that boundary, right?
Yes.
So it didn't take us too long. What was happening was every time we increased the challenge, we found that the fear and the anxiety would come back. Just not quite as much, but it still came back. So, well, I guess you'll be pleased to know, I can tell you that we actually did make it to the top, and then we skied we didn't ski, we slid on our backside all the way to the bottom, but we did get down there. And I look back on it now, and it's kind of funny, but it's interesting also because I can still feel those feelings every time I go skiing. The difference this time is that when I feel that feeling now, I'm standing on top of runs that are genuinely almost vertical.
Wow.
We drop down over cliffs or deep powder or whatever. Sometimes the biggest fear I've had sometimes was jumping out of a helicopter onto a mountain that was so steep that the helicopter couldn't even land on it.
Wow.
So I'm still scared, just like I was on the first day. However, the challenges are so much bigger and so much more fun that I know on the other side is the joy. I know what's waiting for me on the other side of that boundary. And I know that when I push through that initial boundary, that excitement, that exhilaration, it's going to be unequaled. It's the joy that the universe has delivered on the other side of the boundary for us when we start driving in the right direction. And, you know, it doesn't matter. To me, I've seen it doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter how good or how not good you are at anything. Everyone has boundaries. Sir Richard Branson has boundaries. Donald Trump has boundaries. Richard Luck has boundaries. We all have boundaries. It's just that some people's boundaries are wider than others in some areas of their life. And as you step outside of your boundaries or your comfort zone, you're going to get a warning beacon that's going to go off, and it's going to alert you to the fact that you're approaching the edge of your comfort zone. And that warning beacon is called fear. But here's the thing, right? The warning beacon isn't designed to stop you from crossing the boundary. It's only designed to let you know that you are about to enter an area that's unknown for you and that you need to take some extra precautions. What happens, unfortunately, is that the fear can be so strong, it gets misinterpreted, and instead of being treated as a warning device, it gets treated as a stop sign, and it prevents us from doing some things. It might prevent us from starting our own business. It might prevent us from talking to that guy or that girl that we really like in the office or at the coffee shop. It might prevent us from asking our boss for a promotion or a pay rise. It might even prevent us from asking our driver to turn the car around and drive us back to the beach. So what I'd like you to do, what I'd like our listeners to do, is to recognize fear for what it is. A warning device to alert you to be more careful, not a stop sign to prevent you from moving forward. Now, I know that that's easier said than done, and that's what all my clients keep telling me about this step. You know, it's easy to say, well, just step through your boundaries. So that's why I've got these two practical exercises that are going to help you overcome that fear so you can move forward. And the first one is about discovering where your comfort zone boundaries are or your limiting beliefs are. And then to play a game to see how close you can get before you feel you have to back away. It's kind of like playing chicken. Obviously, you want to play it with some caution. You don't want to go hurting yourself. So the idea is that you just see how close you can get to your boundary before you actually flinch and back away. What that's doing is creating a conscious awareness of where your boundary is, and it's bringing into your consciousness the ability to be able to challenge that boundary. You don't necessarily have to cross it the first time or even the 10th time. As long as you're going, right, I'm going to play this game of chicken with my boundary, and I'm going to see how far I can get. And that will help you push past it ultimately, and to challenge it enough to be able to push past it. Like when I first started skiing, my comfort zone was about halfway up a slight slope. And there's no way I would have ever been able to jump out of a helicopter onto an almost vertical slope. Yeah. But because I just kept trying and I just kept pushing my boundary a little bit each time, I was able to expand the comfort zone so that I can do those things now. So I want to give our listeners a really practical example. So if, let's say, approaching that guy or that girl that you really want to talk to, either in the office or the coffee shop or wherever it is way outside of your comfort zone, then the first thing that you could do to play this game of chicken is you could just, as you're walking down the street, you can just look into someone's eyes or people's eyes that are coming the other way that you don't know and just smile at them. And that's a step towards your boundary. And it's also a very uplifting experience. You'd be surprised at the number of people that actually smile back at you, and it really lifts your day anyway. So it's a double-edged exercise. And that's one small step that you can do. And then once you get comfortable at that, what you could do is that you could actually just start saying hello to strangers in the coffee shop. You don't have to say anything more than that. That's another step, another small step. And yeah, the fear is going to come back as you start taking each step. But ultimately, you are challenging your beliefs, you're challenging your boundaries, and as you move closer to the edge of your boundary, it's going to expand, and it's going to allow you to step by step cross over those boundaries and get rid of that fear. And before you know it, you'll actually be striking up engaging conversations with strangers. So you don't need to go from flat slopes to helicopters in one step. It's just one step at a time. Find the edge, give it a little nudge, and you'll find that it's exciting and rewarding. And what's on the other side is that abundance and that joy that we've been talking about. Now, that's a lot, but I've got one more technique that I want to share with everyone that's going to help, right? A few years ago, I was watching a documentary on the power of meditation over fear. So there were two scuba divers. One was a masterful meditator, and the other scuba diver didn't do any meditation at all. And they dropped them both inside a shark cage and lowered them into shark-infested waters. Pretty scary, huh? Right? Even for the masterful meditator. But what happened was the masterful meditator was able to control his fear. I'm sure he still experienced it, but he was able to control it. And they measured that because by his heart rate was only half that of the other person that was in the cage. So meditation, apart from all of the other benefits that it can do for you, is also will help you manage that fear. And what I teach my clients to do, and this works for people where even if they're trying or even if they're dealing with some fairly serious illnesses, it'll help them get to a better place. So what I like to get the clients to do is simply, I ask them to go for a walk, which most of us do anyway, and while they're walking, just to focus on everything that they can see. So to look at the leaves on the trees, the birds, the cars, the houses, the billboards, whatever it is, just focus on seeing as much as you can see. And to listen to all the sounds that they can see, people talking or playing music or car noises or the wind blowing through the trees, gates and doors opening, dogs barking, and to smell everything you can smell, like the perfumes and the aftershaves of the people walking past you, or the flowers. and to feel everything that they can feel, like the ground under their feet or the clothes on their skin or the wind in their face. And I call this a senses walk. And it's a really, really powerful form of meditation, because what you're doing is you're learning to focus on living in the moment, and you're letting go of all of the things that you're scared of in the future and all of the worries that occurred in the past. And by doing that, you're exercising your mind muscle, which allows you to manage those fears as you get closer and closer to the edge of your boundary, just like that masterful meditator did in the Shark Tank.
Uh-huh.
So challenging your beliefs is going to be the thing that makes the difference between driving to the beach and getting what the universe delivers for you, or driving in the opposite direction away from what the universe has already delivered for you. Do you think those exercises will help people if they could do that?
Oh, absolutely. I think the senses walk being exactly what that means, and that's SENSES, senses, meaning take in what just stop for a minute and even breathe the air, right? I mean, really notice where you're at, be present. So I think that's a great one. Richard, is there any new technology out there that makes changing our values and beliefs easy?
Yeah, look, the exercises that I've been talking about are really cool exercises, and I always recommend my clients do them, but I also suggest that there are some other technologies that they can use that will actually make a difference and actually make those exercises work even better and more rapidly. So essentially, what we're trying to do is change the information that's stored in our unconscious mind. So over the years, there's been a number of processes that have been developed to make that process of change a lot easier than what it was ever before. Affirmations is one way, like the continuous repetition of a statement of something that's important to you will eventually break through and make the necessary changes in your unconscious mind. It takes a lot of work and repetition. Visualization is another way that makes the changes. So what happens is your unconscious mind can't tell the difference between reality and fantasy. So by visualizing, you're creating experiences in your unconscious mind that it believes has really happened. Remember, we were talking about incongruence. So if your unconscious mind believes that something has really happened and reality matches that, then your unconscious mind is going to see congruence and therefore won't cause any self-sabotaging behavior. That's one of the great ways visualization works. So they're fun, and the problem with them, though, is even though they're some of the latest technology, the problem with them is that they require a lot of repetition to convince your unconscious mind, right? So what we're trying to do is consciously change our unconscious mind, and that's kind of like what happens when a salesman comes to your front door. Before he even gets the first word out, our defenses are up, right? And more often than not, you don't buy what he's selling. And that's kind of the same with affirmations and visualizations. Your defenses go up because you're consciously doing this. Eventually, it'll happen for you. Eventually, if you just keep at it and keep the repetition going, it's going to happen for you. Hypnosis is another great way, because with hypnosis, the hypnotist actually bypasses the conscious mind straight past your conscious mind, puts the suggestions into your unconscious mind, then removes old limiting beliefs and replaces them with new empowering ones. And the good news today is that there's heaps of hypnotic audios, so you don't actually have to go and see a hypnotherapist one-on-one anymore. But there is one other method that I really like, because that actually combines all of those things that we were just talking about. So the affirmations, the visualization, and the hypnosis, and it has a few other techniques in there to make it work even better. And believe it or not, right, the advertising industry uses this technique on us every single day. See, while you're concentrating on one thing, you're being bombarded with thousands of messages, almost all of which you don't even consciously notice. So there's no defenses going up, and the messages are being passed straight through to your unconscious mind. Like we were talking about, the photos in the magazines of what the projected image of what people should look like. That's a form in a very, very subtle way of what the advertising industry is doing to change people's values and beliefs about something. And they do it. The advertising industry does it very well. You know, the latest Hollywood diets, for instance, supposedly you can lose kilos in days and keep it off for the rest of your life. And people believe that because of the way the messages are given. It works at an unconscious level. So you may have worked out what I'm talking about, just in case you haven't. It's subliminal messaging, right? You see, the problem with our conscious mind is that we're only able to process about 5 or 7 chunks of information at any one time. But our unconscious mind can produce or process millions of chunks of information every minute. And the real magic with subliminal messaging is that the messages actually bypass our conscious mind, so they go directly into the unconscious mind, where they replace the beliefs and values that are holding us back from abundance. And the way that it works is very similar to the way an illusionist will perform his or her magic. So Chris Angel and the very best illusionists will have you concentrating on one thing while another is going on in the background that you don't even see. I remember going to see Chris, and I was looking at him on a stage in Las Vegas. There he was, and there was a puff of smoke behind me, and he was behind me. It's just amazing how they do that. And that's how subliminal messaging works. It gets you concentrating on one thing, and you don't see everything else that's going on that's passed directly into your unconscious mind, and it replaces those limiting beliefs with empowering ones. The latest technology, well, you can get up to 450,000 affirmations in 30 days. That's the same as saying an affirmation manually every day, 40 times a day for 30 years. So it's pretty phenomenal, the level of repetition. Yeah, and when it goes straight into your unconscious mind, well, that's what will work. That's what replaces those few limiting beliefs that you have that are preventing you from driving to the beach. And when you remove them and replace them with empowering ones, you'll actually end up changing your reality. And that will mean more money, more love, more passion, more romance, better health, and ultimately it will mean more joy in your life.
Beautiful. You said it so exquisitely. Richard, I'm curious about what's possible for people who are listening here today. Can you take a few minutes and share some of the amazing turnarounds you've seen from people who have applied what you teach?
Sure, Daniel. Look, what I've done is I've got a couple of testimonials that I've brought in that sort of will give an idea of the kind of results that people can get. So this one is from Mark in Canada, and he says that he's been in denial for many years, and he was raised to be skeptical of anything new or unusual. There's a belief that he could probably do without, I would have thought. I've enjoyed your instructions, and especially the subliminal videos, and I'm steadily changing my life around. He feels more positive, more relaxed than ever before. This is his words, right? He says, my self-confidence has soared to new levels beyond my wildest dreams. And he wrote that to me because he just wanted to let me know how much of a difference they'd made. Jan from the US, Jan said that she's been watching the videos and doing the steps. And that, let's see, it's funny because I've been watching the Attract a Partner video. One of them, she's been watching that the most. And she's noticed that even people who didn't previously communicate with her have actually all of a sudden started to come up and chat to her, both boys and girls. And she says, it feels like maybe I was invisible, and then all of a sudden, now they see me. So it's like she was driving away from the beach, and she's turned around, told the driver to turn around and start taking me back to what the universe has given me. And then, without any effort, she started to be noticed. It's like she said, her words was, it was like I was invisible, and now I'm not. What else? This is from Lynn in New Zealand. Lynn says she was a little bit unsure of all of it, but she's been watching the videos for 4 days, right? So she was new when she wrote this, and she can already feel the change. And she said one thing that she's changed is her ability to laugh again, right? And she says it's only a small thing, but it's a big thing for her. And the ability to laugh is like, you're starting to move towards that joy. She's also been given ideas to increase her business and to help other people who are struggling. So let's see, she just wanted to say thanks. So her ability to be able to laugh again has started to come back just simply because the beliefs that she had were replaced with empowering beliefs that are allowed to do that. Here's one of my favorites. This is from Delara. She's in the United Arab Emirates. This is the note that she sent me. In fact, she put this up on my blog. She goes, Richard Luck is amazing, the best. She says, trust his work blindly. He'll help you change your life. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So, look, I've got hundreds and hundreds of testimonials up on the blog of people who have, the videos have changed their life simply because we're using technology that allows the few beliefs that people have that are stopping them from achieving abundance or having abundance in any area of their life or all areas of their life, and replace those with empowering beliefs so that they can have everything that they really deserve.
I love that, and I get really excited about helping people take control of their lives. And obviously you can see there's so much more we can learn from Richard that I've asked him to create a special offer for everyone who's listening to this call. So I highly encourage you to go to Richard's special offer right now to experience it for yourself. So go to www.awakeningtoabundance.com/luck, and that's Luck. Richard, can you let everybody know what they'll find there?
Sure. What I've done, Daniel, is I've actually put up a fully functional subliminal video that will help people with beliefs, limiting beliefs that they have around their fitness and their health. So they can go there and they can watch this video, they can follow the instructions, and they can see how easy it is to actually begin making changes in their life. So it's just a fully functional working example. All the instructions are on the page. And if they like what they see, I've put up a special half-price offer for all of your listeners. So if they see it and they like it, they can pick it up for half price for the next 7 days or so.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. And what are some of the benefits that people can expect to experience right away or over time for applying or actually watching these videos?
Sure. Look, what we see generally is within, days of watching them, people just begin to feel a change in themselves. So it's not like, they have to do this for a whole month before they start seeing results. They can begin to feel a change. They begin to feel that happier. They begin to feel lighter. These are the comments that I'm getting all the time. They begin to feel like there's less problems in their life. They're just looking at things differently. So there's 8 videos in the series about, there's a couple in there about confidence, about finding your ideal partner, about winning friends or being, more socially acceptable. These are the biggest areas that people are having trouble with in their life. There's also subliminal videos in there to help them with their financial success as well.
I love it. That's one. Any final thoughts before we let everyone go?
Sure. Look, Daniel, I started with Wayne Dyer. I think that, his work is pretty impressive.
I love his work.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he says, I think he sums it up perfectly when he says, when you believe it, you'll see it. Everything we've been talking about here today will take you to a place. If you do these things, it'll take you to a place where you can believe it, and you will see it.
I love it. Thank you so very much for sharing with us today, Richard. I appreciate you, and I look forward to our next call together.
Me too, Daniel. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. I appreciate it.